My phone rang at 2:13 a.m. That call cracked my world in half. It was my younger brother, Ryan. No hello. No pause. Just, "Where's your wife?" I rubbed my eyes, still half asleep. "On a business trip," I mumbled. "Washington, D.C." He went quiet for a moment. Then he dropped a sentence that made my blood freeze. "Then why did my friend Owen, who runs that boutique hotel in Marbella, just call me asking why your wife is at his place, with another man?" I sat up, heart slamming against my ribs. "What? She's in Spain, Mike. Not Washington." Owen recognized her from the Christmas photos I posted. "She's at his hotel, using your name and your ATM card, walking around the beach like she owns the damn coast." I stood in the middle of my dark bedroom, listening to the sound of my own breathing get sharper, faster, heavier. My wife, Jessica. My Jessica. No, not my Jessica. This Jessica, the one in Spain, was someone else. Someone capable of standing in my kitchen just last week, wrapping her arms around me, whispering, "I'll miss you, babe." Meetings, meetings, meetings. Someone capable of looking me in the eyes, lying through her perfect white teeth, and flying across the ocean to be with another man. Using my money. I didn't even feel anger at first. Just numb. Like the world had shifted 20 degrees sideways and I hadn't caught up yet. "Ryan, are you sure?" I asked, but even as I said it, I felt sick for needing to ask. "I've already seen the photos," he said. "Owen sent them." I didn't want to believe it either. He forwarded the pics. I opened the first one, Jessica in a sundress I bought her for our anniversary, leaning across a dinner table towards some bearded clown in sunglasses. Her hand on his arm. Smiling that smile, the private one. The one she used to save for me. I scrolled. Another one, Jessica poolside, laying on a lounge chair, her legs stretched toward that same man. Same smile. Her phone in one hand, my phone, I realized, and her other hand tangled in his. I scrolled again. I shouldn't have. One more pic. Caught through a hotel window. Curtains barely drawn. Their bodies pressed against each other. Skin. Movement. His hand gripping her thigh. I dropped the phone. That's when it hit me. Not just the betrayal, but the insult. The mockery. She didn't even try to hide it well. She wanted me to find out, or worse, didn't care if I did. "I'm coming over," Ryan said, but I told him no. I need to think. And I did. For 6 long hours. I sat on the edge of our bed, looking at her untouched pillow, still fluffed from the last time she made the bed. Her perfume still lingered in the air, floral, expensive, fake. By sunrise, I wasn't numb anymore. I was wired. Awake. Alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. I called Owen directly. "Is she still there?" "Yep. Room 304. Checked in under your name. She's at the breakfast lounge with him right now. I want to ruin her." Owen paused. Then he said the words that changed everything. "Then let me help you." And just like that, I had a plan. A plan that started with a surprise flight to Spain. A plan that ended with her calling me the next day panicked. But before we get there, you need to know the full story. How I pieced it together. How I confronted her. How I found the strength to walk through the ashes of my marriage and come out on the other side with fire in my eyes. Because if she thought that stabbing me in the back was the end of it, she had no idea who she was dealing with. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat. I just packed a carry-on, booked the fastest flight I could to Marbella, and let the rage keep me warm. On the plane, I watched that window like it might break open from the pressure inside me. Everyone else was dozing or watching movies. Me? I was building a storm in my head. Landing felt like hitting concrete. I turned my phone on. No messages from Jessica. Not a single "miss you" or "how's your day." She wasn't even pretending anymore. Owen picked me up from the airport. I'd only met him once at Ryan's wedding, but when he shook my hand, it wasn't casual. It was the handshake of someone who understood betrayal like an old enemy. "She's still here," he said. "Still parading around like it's some romantic getaway." We drove in silence most of the way. The hotel came into view, modern, white marble, palm trees lined up like soldiers. And there she was, Jessica, in the lobby, wearing my favorite dress. The green one. The one I told her made her look like she walked out of a magazine. Now it just looked like a costume on a thief. She was laughing. With him. He had that lazy, smug look I've seen on men who think they've won. He was taller than me, broader maybe. But that didn't matter. Because I wasn't there to compete. I was there to finish something. I ducked behind a column. Watched them disappear down the hallway, toward the elevators. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. I wasn't going to do something stupid. Not yet. Owen led me through the staff entrance. We moved through back corridors, up service stairs, and into a security room. Camera feeds, he said, pointing at the screens. Room 304. There they were. On the bed. Her on top, kissing him like a scene out of a movie. Her phone was next to her, mine, technically. And beside it, my wallet, open. She was laughing, running her fingers down his chest. I looked away, not because I couldn't handle it, but because I already knew. I didn't need more proof. What I needed was leverage. We copied the footage. Just enough. Not too much. Just the parts that mattered. I had Owen send it to my cloud. Labeled. Timestamped. Silent but loud enough to scream through a courtroom if I needed it. That night, I checked into a room 2 floors below. I didn't call her. Didn't even let her know I was on the same continent. But the next morning, everything changed. Jessica called me in a panic. I let it ring twice before answering. Mike. She gasped. You won't believe what just happened. I kept my voice flat. What's wrong, honey? There's some mistake with the hotel. They're saying the credit card is blocked. The room's been flagged. What the hell's going on? Blocked? I asked. That's strange. Must have happened when I reported my wallet stolen. There was a pause. A thick one. The kind of silence that feels like someone's soul just tripped and hit concrete. You, what? I smiled, cold and quiet. You're in Spain, Jess. Still silence. You told me you were in Washington, attending meetings. But you're half naked in Marbella with some nobody who thinks he's hot because you're letting him play with what I built. And worse, you used my card for it. You don't understand it. No, you don't. I cut her off. You thought you were clever. You thought I'd never know. But now you're stranded. And the only one who can fix this mess is the husband you just screwed over. Her voice cracked, trying to pivot. Mike, please. I messed up, okay? But we can talk. When I get back, let's just talk. No, I said, my tone final. We're done talking. I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt free. She was 2,000 miles from my doorstep, and I had the upper hand. But this wasn't over. She would come crawling back, crying, apologizing, lying again, and I would be waiting, not with open arms, but with receipts. I didn't leave Marbella right away. I wanted to watch how the chaos unraveled, how Jessica squirmed once the fairy tale burned down to the dirt. Owen kept me updated. He said she screamed at the front desk when they denied her breakfast. Said she cried when her new boy toy couldn't pay for the room and got kicked out like a drunk tourist. I didn't block her number. That would have been too easy. I wanted to hear her fall apart. 2 days later, she called again. Voice smaller. Less fire. Mike. I don't know what you saw, but it's not what it looked like. I actually laughed out loud. Jessica, I saw everything. You were on top of him, laughing, while using my card to pay for a luxury suite. Which part of that was misunderstood? The part where you kissed him, or the part where you told the bartender your husband was just some guy who didn't get it anymore? Silence. Then, classic Jess, deflection. Okay, yeah, I messed up, but it was just. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. You've been so cold lately, Mike. So distant. What did you expect me to do? There it was. The blame shift. The way she twisted the knife and asked why my ribs were in the way. You wanted distance? I said calmly. You're about to get all the distance in the world. She started crying. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just needed attention. You work so much, and he listened to me. Yeah? He listened when you screamed at the hotel staff because your fraud charge went through? Or when your sugar weekend turned into a nightmare? I could practically hear her grinding her teeth. She tried to flip it again. Tried to remind me of our history. The wedding. The vacations. The way I used to leave notes on her pillow. None of that was fake, Mike. I did love you. Stop using the past tense like I'm dead, I said. You're the one who killed something. She begged. I hung up. That night, I opened our shared bank accounts and moved every last cent into a secure one under my name. I froze the joint credit cards. Changed the locks at home. Called my lawyer. And still, even after all that, I couldn't sleep. Not from regret, but because I kept asking myself, how long had this been going on? Because see, cheating isn't spontaneous. It's not an accident. It's a slow process. Like rot in a beam. You don't notice it at first, but eventually the whole ceiling caves in. And looking back, the signs were there. The way she started hiding her phone under her pillow. The new lingerie she never wore for me. The weekends at her sister's that never had any pictures. The forced hugs. The mechanical laughs. The way she stopped asking about my day and started checking how fast she could end conversations. I was living with a stranger. And worse, I was loving her, blindfolded, while she set fire to the house around me. When I flew home, I didn't tell anyone. I just walked into our place, now my place, and stood in the kitchen where she used to lie to my face over morning coffee. The air felt different, lighter. I opened the drawer where she kept her favorite mugs. Still there. I took one out and dropped it straight into the trash. One by one, I erased her. Not in rage, in precision. Toothbrush? Gone. Her closet space? Empty. Wedding photos? Boxed. It wasn't spite. It was survival. And then, she showed up. For days later, I heard the knock. Looked through the peephole. And there she was, Jessica, suitcase in hand, face half broken, makeup smeared just enough to look tragic. I didn't open the door. She knocked again. Then louder. Mike, let me in, please. Can we talk? Just for 5 minutes. I leaned against the door. You flew back from paradise to beg on a doorstep? That's poetic. She kept knocking. She cried. She even sat down on the porch like a lost child. But I let her stay there. For hours. When she finally left, I watched her walk away. No shoes. Makeup running. Pulling her suitcase down the street with one broken wheel. The perfect ending to a performance she thought she was directing. I wasn't the same man she left behind. I wasn't the man she betrayed. That man was dead. And whoever I was now, he was just getting started. The following morning, I met with the lawyer. Her name was Samantha, sharp as a blade and colder than ice in all the right ways. I laid it out for her: photos, videos, timestamps, credit card charges, travel records, even the call log from the hotel. She looked through everything with barely a blink. This, she said, flipping through the photos of Jessica and the bearded clown, is more than enough to gut her in court. I didn't even smile. I wasn't looking for satisfaction. I wanted freedom with a paper trail. Samantha drafted the divorce papers with the kind of precision a surgeon uses when removing tumors. She added financial clauses, property splits, even conditions for public slander. If she says anything in her defense that implies mutual blame, we sue. Good, I said. I want her to know that lying has a price. Back home, I boxed the last of her things. I found a ring she never wore tucked behind a perfume bottle, still in its velvet box. I bought it for our 3rd anniversary. She'd said she loved it. It's so elegant, babe, and then left it to collect dust. Just like she did with the version of me that believed in her. I tossed it into the box with the rest. A few hours later, she texted. We need to talk. Please. I didn't respond. Then she called. I declined. 3 minutes later, another message. I'm outside. I stepped out to the porch, arms crossed. There she was again, same suitcase, less mascara. But this time she didn't look tragic. She looked calculated. Like she was rehearsing something in her head. 5 minutes, I said. Not a second more. She walked in like she still lived there. I let her. Because I wanted to hear what she thought was going to save her. She sat on the couch. Crossed her legs. That smug look starting to creep back in like she was slipping into an old coat. You didn't have to do all this, she said softly. You humiliated me, Mike. I almost laughed. I humiliated you? You froze my accounts. Took my things. Treated me like I was garbage. You used my name, my card, my trust, and my damn heart to screw another man on a European vacation, and now you're mad I didn't leave the lights on for you when you came home? She didn't flinch. Okay, she said, voice flatter now. Yes, I messed up. I'm not going to deny that. But we were falling apart long before that. You never touched me anymore. You always came home tired. You lost interest. There it was again, the twist. I was building a life for us, I said. I gave you everything. I lost sleep so you could sleep peacefully. I skipped dinners so you could spend money like a queen. And while I was breaking my back to be enough, you were in someone else's bed calling me distant. She stayed quiet. So I kept going. You know what the worst part is? It's not the betrayal. It's not even that you lied. It's that you let me love you while you were planning your escape. You smiled at me like it meant something, all while erasing me behind my back. Tears finally welled up. And for a moment, I saw something real. Maybe regret. Maybe just the panic of losing the easy life. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. You lost me the minute you booked that flight. She stood up. Walked toward me like she used to when she wanted forgiveness. Please, Mike. Please don't do this. I stepped back. No. That was it. One word. She knew it was over. She picked up her suitcase, rolled it toward the door. stopped halfway and looked at me like I was supposed to change my mind. I didn't blink. When the door closed behind her, it was like the air shifted again. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean, sharp, honest. And I stood in that silence knowing I'd done the right thing. This was my house now, my story. And the villain had finally left the page. A week passed. Then two. My lawyer filed the divorce and Jessica didn't contest it. I think she knew better. The evidence was too airtight, the case too public in our circle of friends. Everyone knew. Everyone saw. She moved into some rental condo across town. Tried to contact me 3 more times. I didn't answer. The silence was no longer a punishment, it was peace. One night, around 1 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. He left. I have nothing. I didn't respond. The next day, Ryan told me he saw her in a grocery store parking lot, arguing on the phone, looking like she hadn't slept in days. He didn't stop to say hi. Just drove past. She thought the guy from Spain was her escape plan. Turns out he had a wife of his own. And a kid. When everything blew up, he bailed. Blocked her. She came back to find the life she burned didn't grow back. But none of that satisfied me. Not really. What did satisfy me was something smaller. I was cleaning out the garage, tossing old junk, when I found a shoebox behind a cabinet. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Handwritten, folded, some yellowed from years ago. Love notes. From me. To her. Back when we were still good. Before the rot. I read the first one. It was dated 6 months before our wedding. I don't care what job I have or where we live, as long as I get to wake up next to you. My stomach turned. It wasn't just the words. It was the memory of the man who wrote them. How full of hope he was. How sure. I wasn't that man anymore. He died the night she packed a bikini into a suitcase and called it a conference. Still, I couldn't bring myself to throw the letters away. Not because of her, but because of him. I owed him that. I tucked the box back on the shelf. Later that week, I went to dinner with a friend. Melissa. A coworker I'd known for years, but always from a distance. She'd heard about the divorce through the grapevine and asked if I wanted company. We didn't talk about Jessica. Not once. We talked about music. About food. About how people ruin each other when they forget to look each other in the eyes. And when she laughed at one of my dumb jokes, not in pity, but in real laughter, I felt something crack open in my chest. Not love. Not yet. But something better. Possibility. After dinner, we sat in my car for an hour, just talking. No pressure. No weird expectations. And when she hugged me goodbye, it felt like warmth. Not confusion. Not manipulation. That night, I slept better than I had in months. I dreamed of a house. Clean. Quiet. Safe. A dog on the porch. Music from the kitchen. And no ghosts. A few days later, the final papers came through. Divorce. Finalized. I stared at the signature line for a long time before I signed it. Not because I hesitated, but because I wanted to feel the moment. Not rush past it. Not blink. This was the end of a story. One I didn't write alone, but one I finished on my terms. If you ask me now what I learned from all of this, I wouldn't say don't trust people or never fall in love. No. I'd say this. Don't ignore the silence. When she stops asking about your day, listen. When she hides her phone, notice. When she pulls away at night and says she's just tired, don't believe the first excuse. And most of all, never love someone so much that you forget to love yourself first. I gave Jessica every piece of me until I had nothing left. But now, I'm building something again. Slowly. Quietly. And next time, I'll make sure it's with someone who knows how to hold a heart without crushing it. A few months later, I ran into Jessica at a mutual friend's engagement party. I didn't know she'd be there. I almost turned around the second I saw her, standing near the bar, fake laughing at something some guy was saying. But something in me stayed still. Calm. She spotted me eventually. Froze. Her smile dropped for half a second before snapping back into place. Like muscle memory. She made her way toward me, glass of wine in hand. No ring. Hair darker than I remembered. Heels a little too high. A performance still in progress. Mike, she said. Soft. Like we were old classmates. Like she hadn't nuked my life with the pull of a zipper. Jessica. She looked me up and down, probably expecting a wreck. Someone thinner. Angrier. But I'd been hitting the gym again. Got my sleep back. Stopped flinching at every memory. I looked better than when I married her. You look good, she said, with that practiced, sweet-voiced guilt. I nodded. I am. She hesitated. Listen, I know you probably hate me, I don't. That stopped her. I don't hate you, I continued. Hate takes too much energy. And I've been putting that into things that matter. She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. I made mistakes. No, I said, you made choices. She blinked, took a sip, couldn't hold eye contact. Do you ever think about us? She asked. I took a slow breath, looked around the room, people dancing, laughing, clinking glasses. Real moments. Honest ones. Yeah, I said. Sometimes. Like someone remembers a place they used to live. But they don't go back. Because the foundation had cracks, and the roof caved in while they were still inside. She swallowed hard. That trip, that man, it wasn't worth it. That's the thing, I said. It never is. But people like you always realize it after. I turned, ready to walk away. Mike, she called after me. I stopped but didn't turn around. I hope you find someone better than me. I smiled, just a little. I already am. The rest of the night passed in a haze of small talk and champagne, but it didn't touch me. I was untouchable now. I wasn't a man who lost a wife. I was a man who got rid of a lie. Melissa texted me later that night. Still on for brunch tomorrow? I replied instantly. Wouldn't miss it. Driving home, I looked at the city lights through the windshield. Remembered all the nights I used to stare at ceilings wondering what was wrong with me. Turns out, the answer was simple. Nothing. I just loved the wrong person too deeply. Now, I was building something slower. Wiser. No fireworks, no fantasy. Just truth. And peace. That's the part no one tells you about betrayal. It doesn't break you. It reveals you. And if you survive it, you don't just get your life back. You get to rewrite it. Spring came fast that year. Everything bloomed earlier than usual, like the world was trying to remind me that it could still be beautiful without her in it. One Sunday morning, I was sitting at a quiet cafe downtown, sipping black coffee, flipping through a book I hadn't touched in years. Melissa arrived 10 minutes late, hair in a loose bun, no makeup, wearing a plain t-shirt and jeans, and somehow, she looked more radiant than Jessica ever had trying so hard. She sat down, gave me that easy, effortless smile, and I knew right then. I didn't miss the past. Not even a little. We didn't talk about what had happened to me. She already knew the broad strokes, and she never asked for details. She let me be a man in the now, not one dragged by his scars. That was the difference. She didn't want to fix me. She just saw me. That afternoon, we went for a walk, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself wonder what a future could look like again. We passed a street musician playing some old love song. Melissa nudged me. You used to dance? Only when I was drunk. Well, she grinned, lucky for you. I'm a terrible dancer. So the bar is low. We laughed. I laughed. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't bitter anymore. Not even a little. I wasn't checking my phone to see if Jessica had texted. I wasn't rereading old messages. I wasn't replaying that call from Spain in my head anymore. I was here, in sunlight, with someone who didn't carry daggers in her smile. Weeks turned into months. Melissa and I didn't rush anything. We just kept showing up for each other. No drama. No guessing games. Just a growing certainty. One night, she looked at me across her couch and said, You know, I don't think you're broken at all. I turned my head slowly. No. She shook hers. I think you're just someone who gave the wrong person all the right pieces. That hit harder than any insult Jessica ever threw at me. Because it was true. And I could finally say, without flinching, without rage, without shame, yeah, that's what happened. One day, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was familiar. Jessica. Inside was a single page. No apology. No begging. Just a line that read, I saw the photos of you and her. I never saw you smile like that with me. I guess I should have known what I had. I folded the letter neatly, tossed it in the trash. Because by then, I wasn't interested in her regrets. I was too busy living the life she swore I was never exciting enough to lead. You don't heal from betrayal overnight. You don't forget the nights you stared at your own ceiling wondering how the hell you ended up alone next to someone who didn't love you. But eventually, you stop asking why. Eventually, you just get better. And when you do, you don't even care if they're sorry. You're too busy being free. A year later to the day, I stood at the edge of a quiet beach just before sunrise. The sky bled from indigo into gold, waves curling against the shore like slow breathing. Melissa was down the shoreline, barefoot, chasing the tide, laughing at something only she understood. And I was smiling. Not because everything had gone perfectly. Not because I got some cinematic revenge or burned her life to the ground. But because I had walked through fire and didn't stay bitter. I rebuilt. Quietly. Brick by brick. Truth over lies. Peace over pride. People always think betrayal changes you into someone colder. Angrier. Someone who builds walls so high no one can climb them. And for a while, yeah, I was that guy. Suspicious of everyone. Locked up in my own chest. But then I met someone who didn't ask for my trust, she just earned it. And I learned something even more valuable than vengeance. You don't win by hurting them back. You win by living so damn well they disappear into irrelevance. So no, I don't hate Jessica. I don't think about her when I wake up. I don't check her socials. I don't even remember what her laugh used to sound like. Because now, my mornings start with coffee and sunlight and someone who doesn't lie to me when she says she loves me. So if you're reading this, if you've been where I've been, standing in the ruins of something you thought would last forever, listen to me. Let it burn. Walk through it. You will crawl at first. You will curse the day you ever believed. You'll hate yourself more than you hate them. But then, one day, you'll stand at a beach, or a mountain, or a quiet kitchen at 6 a.m., and you'll realize. You made it. You're alive. And you're free. That's the ending they never expect. That's the one they'll never get.